Hi everyone, I'm Maddie P, and I am here today on Unicorns Live to debut the first 4 artists for Season 2 of QUSIC. I'm so excited. I'm the host of More Keys on Unicorns Live and also a QUSIC alumni, so I can't wait to talk with these artists. It's the hottest day of the year in BC, and we have some hot artists. And the first one we're talking to today is the lovely Ms. Monica Miles. They first started playing classical guitar at age 7, falling in love with music and performance as early as they can remember. Influenced by a threateningly bygone era of music, Monica looked to the fierce individualists of the past century, ranging from Eartha Kitt, Eddie Van Halen, Joan Jett, Prince, Debbie Harry, and beyond, in her quest to redefine what it means to be a true rock star of this one. Combined with her vintage chic mid-50s ready-to-wear 90s drag fashion, or glittery glam rock realness, she's sure to ignite the stage and audience with her energetic performance style, signature pop trap production, quirky and inclusive lyrics, and infectious melodies and rhythms. Well, let's meet her. Monica, how are you doing? Hello, hello.
Lovely to be here.
It's so nice
How are
to
we
meet
doing
you
tonight?
virtually.
Right, perfect
So good.
COVID fashion.
Yeah.
Yes, lovely.
Oh. And you're doing okay? You're not melting in the heat quite yet? Getting
Not
ready
quite
for
yet. I've heard about some relatives of mine, rather green toned in skin. They melted, so I'm staying away from water, but still hydrated, if you know what I mean.
excellent. A balance, right?
Always, it's
So
all in the balance. Yeah.
so tell me, this is your first time on Unicorns Live?
This is indeed. I'm very excited to be here.
Excellent. But you're no stranger to Friends of Dorothy's Lounge, where you're going to be performing on July 5th.
Absolutely. My gosh. Friends of Dorothy has been my little family in Victoria since December. I had heard about it through Instagram. I sent them an email, and then I think it was December 17th. I strut down Johnson Street and walked on in there, and I pulled a little bit of a, can I please speak to your manager?
Ah,
Because I just felt very called to this place. And sure enough, they're like, oh, yes, of course. You're sitting by the fireplace. Rudy will be right with you. And I
Rudy.
believe the conversation went something like, you do drag, you do music, can you be here tomorrow, 8 a.m.? Make up the
Amazing.
9 yards. And I'm so eternally grateful for that moment onwards. It has been such an exciting ride and a great place to be. I have so much love for Friends of Dorothy. And
That's
now
very
it's the
cool.
stage. Yeah.
Totally. And now that as we're coming out of the pandemic and live music is starting to happen in person, these first few shows for QUSIC at Friends of Dorothy's Lounge, I think, are going to be really cool. I'm so excited you're performing.
Thank you.
I've been researching your music and listening to it a little bit, and in doing so, I found out a lot about your Coronation Collective out of Victoria, BC. So, can you tell us a little more about what that is?
Yeah, so that was actually my first foray, as the bio outlined so poetically. I started classical music at the age of 7. I grew up in Campbell River, so for
Oh,
some
wow.
reason I was really drawn to the violin at first. And I told my mom this, and she actually ran into someone at a gift shop and was telling her that, her child had taken this interest in music. And the gift shop owner, it turned out, said, well, why don't you bring them by? I teach classical guitar. And so that's where that started. And fast forward to 2017, I'm in Victoria taking classical guitar performance at UVic, and met
Wow.
one of my best friends to this day, Emmett Robinson. And we formed this idea of taking these, he's a classical pianist, I did classical guitar. It was very much this fusion of the old and new, and bringing something of like a new sort of modern art form out of that. And we both really liked hip hop, and that became the
Yes.
vehicle for all these great things, these artists we began collaborating with, and helping the idea of shaping like a musical brand. So that was really the basis of me getting into, or getting out from behind the guitar and becoming more of an instrument myself, which, as you know, Maddie, it's always a learning experience. So
Totally.
yeah.
That's very, very cool. And I heard you say in your interview earlier today with the Hub that you really found some purpose and some identity in Victoria in the hip hop scene. And you know, I've listened to a lot of the music you've done with the Coronation Collective, and it's like pretty full on. Like, you
Yes.
guys are rapping. Like, I hear you're doing classical guitar and work with all these great musicians. So obviously, there's a lot of musical thought put behind it too. But tell me a bit about how your journey with the Victoria hip hop scene and how it helped you kind of find your identity.
For sure. I mean, I think the biggest part for me with music is that vehicle of expression. And at first, I was a
Totally.
little bit tentative to almost share that side of myself, like being a queer artist that I was also beginning to understand on my own terms. I had
Yeah.
first held it back a little bit. And a lot of my music really comes from that struggle, that internal conflict that I have of like balancing these sort of juxtapositions and finding out for myself just really this year coming into my own as this trans feminine non-binary artist. And to me, I mean, there are like trans rappers like Big Frida, Key Dash is one of my favorites. And you know, they exist, but it's not so much a thing in Victoria, or like really BC. And like I'm just starting to connect those worlds for myself, which allowed me to finally find my voice and power those lyrics a little bit differently. So yeah, it's been a learning experience for sure. And you know, the stage has always been there, I guess is what I mean to say. And it
Totally.
was a matter of taking my voice and, you know, putting it out there in that context.
Well, I've never had the pleasure of seeing you live in person, but from all the videos I've seen and all the music I've heard, you seem like an incredibly confident and engaging live performer. And I love that. That must have a huge impact on, you know, showing your identity to the audience a little bit and being able to express yourself.
For sure. And it's also like a relatively new thing for me to be coming out as Monica Miles, as, you know, this mastermind behind whatever inner workings of, you know, the vocal booth go on. You know,
Totally.
it's really exciting for me to bring it forward in this new colorful flair and just embracing that. And what I really want to do with that is show other people that this space does exist for us as queer artists. Doesn't matter if you're into classical music, hip hop, jazz, you can bring all of that together under this sort of this identity that we do collectively have.
Amazing. And Monica Miles, this QUSIC show coming up on July 5th. This is your, correct me if I'm wrong, your first performance as Monica Miles.
Yes, indeed. Part of
That's very
Coronation
cool.
Collective. Yeah, I'm so. That's why I'm especially excited for this, Maddie. Is it's got that newness to it, a new car smell, maybe.
Ah,
Can't
I
quite put
love,
your
who
finger on
doesn't
it.
love a
I
new
don't
car?
know. Oh, I'm here for it. But
Oh,
like
yes.
eco-friendly, of course, as much as you can get. Maybe a little Chanel
Oh,
number
yeah.
five, because you know.
Or at least one of those little like pine tree air fresheners, something like that.
Yeah, oh my gosh, shout out little trees, you know. And the big trees, honestly.
Any trees.
Oh, we need the trees now more than ever. But yeah, so as Monica Miles, I want to bring a bit of each of these elements, like guitar and like the production. And I mean, we all use autotune, of course. So like those
Yeah.
fun sort of party adders, if you will, um, you know,
Yeah,
and
the
just
little
fusing it all
bells and
together.
whistles.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm super here for all of that, and just bringing it, you know, into a new sort of high energy form. And yeah, I want people to dance and get up. And I have a couple other fun things up
Cool.
my sleeve, even though these
Well,
ones are
I
short.
read I read
But
about a trombone coming out.
oh
Like,
yes,
really?
oh yes, and that is actually a family heirloom. So like in middle school, when like band comes around, I'm like, I go home and I tell my parents, I want to play saxophone. And they're like, you know, my family's very Italian. And, you know, they're like, yeah, we have a trombone. You know, it's your
You're
uncle's.
gonna
And
play
it's like,
this.
you're going to play this. And sure enough, just as my dad had, you know, all these other relatives, the thing's like 60 years old. And here's to breathing a little new life into, you know, something old, the old brass tacks, as it were.
That old
But
brass tack. That's too cool. And
yeah,
this sounds
so
like it's going to be a very, very exciting show. And, you know, when I was looking up Monica Miles specifically, so far, one single that's come out, brand new, called Absolutely. And
absolutely.
absolutely, I loved it, by the way.
Oh my gosh,
It's
thank you so much for
it's
listening.
got some, oh, it was amazing. It's got some edge to it, but I also, it felt to me like absolutely is your introduction, or your, yeah, your introduction to Monica. You're putting this persona out in the world, and
Yes.
I'm curious, is Monica, like, in terms of like someone like David Bowie who would go through different
Mm.
eras and phases, is this sort of a project, or is this more the direction you're going musically?
This is how I want to start it off for sure. It's
Cool.
been a lot of mini discoveries for me along the way, and finding out this bigger picture where things can all have this balance together.
Nice.
So I really want to start off on a high note, and I want to be
Yeah.
doing things with magnitude for this community, the people who have accepted me and shown me how to orchestrate these sort of things. I want to do it absolutely loud and proud, and
Cool.
I'm so excited to bring that energy to Friends of Dorothy's. So,
Yeah, well, we're excited too. We're all really looking forward to this show. Aside from
three.
some trombone, some bells and whistles, a little like what kind of music will you be performing at the show? I know that you said in the hub today something along the lines of it's a set of songs that comes from a certain dimension of time and space, which sounds very
Alluring.
very exciting. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
it leaves lots of room for expansion. And I
cool.
think the magnitude is in the details. So I'm going to be starting off with a little bit of some disco vibes. I'm a big fan of that sort of, after all, it is the
Love it.
20s. We're about to get back up and
We're
on our
about to
feet.
hit the roaring 20s. Yeah.
Right. So we're going to bring a little bit of that spice, as well as some mostly unreleased tracks that are coming from an upcoming album I'll be putting out in September. And this will
Wonderful.
be called 351 Dreamland. And it's a bit of a follow up to an album I did last year in June, originally intended for my birthday. And it was called 612 Dreamland. That's also available under Coronation Collective, all platforms. And this was
Nice.
where I started developing the idea of Monica Miles and, what she could bring to the table. She can keep up with the best of them. She's a tough girl. She can talk
Yes.
gangster when she has to, stand your ground and own it.
Totally.
And so this is going to be an extension of that with, more of that sort of jazz orchestral sort of influence. And
I
that's
love it.
sort of the package that I want to bring to the stage for this performance.
Monica, I love the swagger. I love the energy, and I think you really nail it. You're just lovely
Thank
to
you.
talk to. I
Likewise.
wanted
Thank
to
you.
ask quickly, you know, well, I wanted to ask about your production. Are you doing a lot of this music from home, or are you doing it in studio? How are you working like through the pandemic?
Yeah, so I've been really lucky to have, the basic tools really. Just like a mic interface, a computer,
Hmm.
and like speakers to listen back to, whether it's, like a Bluetooth speaker, Apple headphones, which honestly, I know you're wearing AirPods, but I think the wired
They
ones
help.
sound better.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, I
And
won't talk into these. I'll just listen through these.
okay, that's fair. Well,
Yeah,
that's why you sound so good. You have a lovely voice anyways. We know this. But
Monica.
oh, I know. Where's my fan? Oh my gosh.
Whew.
But oh right. Oh my gosh, it's over here. Oh, this is
Yeah,
where the
we
wired
need it.
headphones don't quite work.
Oh yes, they're just gonna blow away.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I can't reach my fan. But yeah, my gosh. I forget what I was talking about. I got so
Yeah.
swept
So
away.
the production, you're working
Oh
with some
yes.
gear at home and a little bit of talent built in too.
Yeah, so it's
With all your
mostly been
musical talents.
oh, thank you. Yeah, it's mostly been recording with one of the people involved in Coronation Collective. We have producers, the main one being my friend Emmett. So
Cool.
he's been like a powerhouse of just instrumentals, classical vibes. I've also done some like guitar loops for that. And another friend of mine in Russia, actually, who's a
Amazing.
very talented producer, as well as a friend of mine who's a World Cup freestyle skier for Team Canada, named Brandon Kelly. And it was so funny. I texted him. I'm like, I'm going to play some of our songs we have in the works for this show coming up. And he's like, oh, I'm going back to like wherever skiing is now. Like they're still skiing, right? Training, all
Yeah.
this. So he's like, next time. I'm like, don't worry. You'll know.
Well, the good news is he can watch it on Unicorns Live because this show is going to be broadcast on the platform, which we're all really excited about.
Me
And
too.
as
That's
someone
amazing.
who's, yeah, someone who's been involved, it's a really great company to work with. I think you're going to have a great
Yeah,
experience,
I'm
and we
really
all
excited.
so look forward to your show. I'm going to try to come be there in person, by the way. I'm
Oh,
going to try. I can't promise because I'm in Vancouver and there's all sorts of. It's hot. It's hot out, okay?
that's the main thing,
Um,
honestly.
but Monica, I have one last question for you before we go.
Of course.
Pandemic banger. Your what were you listening to? What was getting you through this time?
Hmm. That's a good question because I've been listening to a lot of like 70s psychedelic rock, honestly. Especially
Cool.
nowadays, it kind of feels like this almost apocalyptic, like desert sort of vibe. Big fan of John Tropea. And of
Cool.
course, Miles Davis has always been, and that's a little bit of why I started as Miles. You know, having the
Oh,
brass side of things and the classic jazz sort of inspiration. Miles Davis is a very big role model in terms of authenticity and just style, like the cool, you know? So,
super. Yeah.
yeah. So let's see. I'm still
Well,
thinking of a pandemic banger.
well,
There are a
I
couple
mean,
of good
that's
ones. I've been
it
working
doesn't
hard
have
on
to be a
music,
new
Maddie.
banger. Like that's fair enough. It could be absolutely your new song. It's like
Oh my
amazing
gosh.
song. So
Oh my
look,
gosh. Thank you
everyone,
so much.
leading up to this show, I want you to go check out Monica Miles on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music.
Yes,
Check out her new
please.
single Absolutely and be there
Absolute.
on Unicorns Live on July 5th for two sets. It sounds like we don't know exactly what to expect. It's going to be exciting, it's going to be spontaneous. I can't wait to see
Yes.
it, and it was a
Thank you so
pleasure
much.
talking to you, Monica.
Oh, the pleasure is shared, Maddie. It has been wonderful, and I'm so excited to
Me
be a
too.
friends of Dorothy. My gosh, thank you.
We'll see you soon. Mwah.
See you soon, babe. Mwah. And don't forget, you have VIP if you do come to the show. So
Oh
I'll make
yeah,
sure.
backstage, baby.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
gosh, we'll see you there.
See you.
Bye.